Perfect. Thank you guys very much. Thanks for having us. This is mine and Paul's first time being here. So, as Matt said, I'm Jack Broadshrug. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Rentable.com.
I'm Paul Berg. I'm the CEO of Rentable.com.
And we got Alex here, who is the CTO. So, one beautiful thing about being a startup is we can have fancy titles, even though we're a 3-person company, right? So, we sound very impressive. But basically, we're just going to tell you what we have. We're really the online rental equipment marketplace. So kind of the first thing I want you guys to think about is when was the last time you rented something and how was your experience on that? So don't necessarily have to answer more hypothetical for you, but typically the answers we get is, well, I haven't rented anything in a long time, or if you did, if you're a DIY person or you had an event rental thing, maybe you go in, you have to sign a bunch of paperwork, it takes maybe 20 minutes, or maybe you called in to reserve something, they said it was reserved, you go in there and somebody rented it out in the time it took you to drive all the way to get there. We're trying to really improve a lot of that process and also make it a lot simpler for you to find rental equipment nearby. So I'll kind of let Paul talk about this, the reason, his inspiration, I guess, for the company and his experience on this. So.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Yeah, so about a year and a half ago, we started building Rentable, and for about 3 years before that, I was a small contractor, so I did painting and handyman work all over the cities, and I needed rentables pretty often for that. You know, one time I had a hardwood floor job, and I needed to get a hardwood floor nailer. And so I called ahead to a couple different rental places. You know, most people don't post their prices online. If they do, you know, you can't reserve it online. And so I called ahead to a couple different places, wrote down the prices. You know, it took me 5 or 10 minutes on the phone calling these different places. Picked out one I was going to go get near the job site, and I went to go pick it up the day of, and it was checked out by somebody else because they didn't take reservations. It was a huge bummer because I needed to be on time for my job. And so I called Home Depot, they were checked out as well at the same time. I called a couple other places that I knew of, they were all checked out. I ended up all the way up to Chaska, so past where we are here, and I was over in South Minneapolis. So I was late for my job, and it really stunk. And so I thought there's just got to be a better way to discover rental equipment near you. And so that's really what we're trying to build, is the rental equipment discovery platform. So yeah.
And basically the other thing is, I think we've since put rental equipment online in Ace Hardware that was 2 blocks from where we were.
I forgot to mention that. So there's an Ace Hardware, and Ace Hardware said rental equipment, they don't advertise it.
They don't advertise it.
There's one 2 blocks away from me that had a hardware floor and that I could have gone to, so didn't even know. Yeah.
So anyway, going through kind of what we offer for consumers, then we'll kind of go through some of the benefits we offer for rental businesses, and I got a few screenshots in here as well. Really for consumers, the number one thing that we find that people are most interested in is finding the closest piece of rental equipment. So again, in Paul's situation, knowing that he had a hardwood floor nailer 2 blocks away that he would have previously had to Google search to find all that, sort it out himself and be able to see that. Just being able to see what that is, find the closest piece, and know that, hey, it's my local neighborhood Ace Hardware, local neighborhood rental company, whatever it is, I can go down the road there and get it, and just understanding what's nearby me. Price transparency is another big one. Again, I think at least in the Minneapolis area, which is our base obviously right now, the rental companies do kind of seem to have their own territories drawn out. I think this price transparency might be a bigger deal in bigger markets, but certainly it is a big deal here. Obviously, you can find, there are some variations in the costs of different pieces of equipment, especially like some specialty equipment. So, I mean, for DIY people, it's a better understanding of that price transparency, being able to compare prices from again, like a tile saw or something like that, from one rental location to another. It can vary by $10 to $15 a day. So that's a big deal. We're also going to excuse me, add in reviews for rental businesses. Again, another big thing. I think will just help you be able to search, be able to better understand other experiences that other people had at these various rental businesses. Number one thing too, obviously kind of goes in place with all of these combined, is being able to go to one spot to understand the inventory here, right? So being able to go to Rentable.com, you see the inventory from all these different stores rather than having to go to each individual website if you knew those stores were there, right? So that's a big advantage. And then the other big one is making those guaranteed reservations. So today, there are different ways online. Some of the more sophisticated rental companies do allow you to request a quote, but as of today, there are no guaranteed reservations. So we actually allow you to pay online, reserve online, and then I'll get into a few of the different things we allow for protections that allows for protections for rental businesses that maybe have had customers damage goods or cancel reservations in the past. So So in general, those are the main benefits we have for customers. I got some screenshots here, so we don't have to necessarily go through the actual website, but when you go to rentable.com, this is what you'll see right away. We do have folding tables and chairs, because those are our most popular searched items, and it'll automatically show the closest ones nearby you. So here, this is actually from my house in Brooklyn Park area. You can see you see tables from Columbia Heights Rental. And basically, if you want to search on your own then for whatever else you're searching for, click on our search bar at the top, so search for rental equipment. Again, looking at current location. So I'm searching for chairs. You can either search for your current location, or if you're going to be going to do an event in, again, Eden Prairie, right? So you put in Eden Prairie, you get chair locations around here. A search chair, it's kind of funny, the two chairs that pop up are a booster chair and a director chair, but anyway, that's what we had there that are closest nearby. Cater rent, and the director chair, booster chair at the cater rent as well. So this is looking at the nearest. You can see the map here where the different locations of the rental stores. And you click on price and sort by price based on 4-hour rental, 1-day rental, 3-day rental, whatever the store specifies. So here I sorted by price. Here I can find the cheapest chair in town is at Haney Rentals. And we actually have had a few examples of customers that you can see clearly search for the cheapest chair. We actually had one customer, I believe, drive all the way from Chaska to Haney Rental, which is in Maplewood. So they're willing to drive like, I don't know, 30 minutes across town in order to save like 10 bucks on chairs, right, for a weekend rental. So different things like that. We have a few examples of that surprised us, to be honest, but again, it allows for some of that price transparency, some more choices, and allows comparisons, right? So that's on the consumer side. Obviously on the rental business side, in order for them to be in on this or to be excited about this, we have to have some features for them, and there are a few features here, obviously. Number one is a sales lead generator. Typically a lot of the rental market is DIY and a lot of regular customers. Event rentals, there's maybe some meeting planners, but again, a lot of regulars. And I think there's a lot of millennials that a lot of these companies are missing out on. We're helping to try and tap into that millennial type market. People that want that digital experience and want that, want to be able to reserve things online. You know, the whole generation like ourselves that want DoorDash and different things like that. We don't have to talk to anybody, right? So trying to be able to hit that market and being a sales lead generator for that millennial market so that they continue to rent down the line. The other thing with millennials is that in general, people don't want to have a lot of stuff. So we feel like the rental market's really going to grow based on the fact that people don't want a lot of stuff, and helping to improve that will be a big thing there. Another thing we offer rental businesses is easy way to manage reservations. So today, the main concern they have is when we say we can offer them reservations, they say, well, what if somebody comes in then when this guy's supposed to come in for the reservation, and they get a reservation online immediately at the same time, what am I going to do? Well, we allow a confirm or deny button on that, so nothing's actually paid for or confirmed until that rental business hits confirm or accept. If they hit deny, they have an option to respond back with a suggest another time that it would work or things like that. So that's a protection for them. If they have in their regular reservation system, the regular phone system, it's rented out, they can deny that reservation, suggest another time, or suggest another item or something like that. So that's an option for them. Easy way to manage on our dashboard as well. Better experience for customers looking for rental items. Again, that goes along with the time spent in store signing things. You don't have to pay in store, it's all paid online. Basically, you just go in, pick up the item, and then you drop it off when you're done, and away you go. So trying to simplify that whole process in general. And then eventually, this is probably more of a future plan, but really analytics on what consumers are looking for and what gaps there may be in the rental market. One thing that's really surprised us, one thing that hasn't surprised us, what do you think the #1 search term since January 1st has been?
Snowblower.
Snowblower, exactly. Yep, that's #1. I bet you nobody can guess #2. Costumes. So I don't know why that is, but we didn't have any costume places on board. We kind of got a few feelers out there, but that's been one thing that's really surprised us, has been costumes. A lot of people looking for costumes. So we can hopefully provide some of that information to these businesses, and hopefully that'll be a revenue stream for us in the future, is providing just data back to rental companies on what gaps there may be, or maybe there's not a hardwood floor nailer in this part of town. They could really capitalize on that market. So this is Paul's dashboard here. So maybe need to change Paul's picture. But this is what the dashboard looks like. So you can have your rental inventory down here, upcoming reservations. This is what that approve or deny button looks like. They have an option to do that, and then if you deny, again, you can have a response back and say, suggest this time. This is actually has been a bit of a hang-up for some rental companies. As you can imagine, some of them aren't as tech savvy. They have a lot of part-time help. Even something like this is a little bit cumbersome for them. So we're actually offering where we manage this process even for them and still call in the reservations. Surprisingly, that's what some of these businesses are working with are like. Now again, there's some that are better than others, but there's a lot of them that are very at the bottom as far as technology goes. So even that's where we're at with some of this, but again, we got a fairly good dashboard. This is what it looks like, and this is some of the stuff that Paul has to rent out. So again, existing rental market, $60 billion industry, expected to grow in the next 10 years. Our business model, how we make money right now, is per transaction. We charge 5% of a transaction fee to the rental business, more or less as a commission for getting them that sale and providing the experience on our site. It's free to post, so we're just charging the rental business per transaction. We are not currently charging the customer. That might change. Certainly with some of the other products we're thinking of adding in. Future business plans. I showed you Paul's up there. We do require general liability insurance on our website. That's why we've been targeting rental businesses. I think the huge and the bigger idea of a market is going to be that peer-to-peer market. Obviously then you're talking about competing with maybe Facebook Marketplace and different things like that. But I still think that's a big one to offer. And if we have data on exactly what other rental equipment is out there, there's already a price point there where you can suggest price points to compete. So that's an option there. But again, we're having issues, I guess, with getting insurance for that, if you can believe that. So insurance, selling insurance itself, I think we look at that as a future revenue stream for us. Being able to sell insurance for if you damage a piece of equipment or just general liability if you're going to rent out your own stuff. If we can provide something like that, if it's under $1,000, maybe it's a $10 insurance premium, whatever it is, I think that's a good option or revenue stream for us. Delivery, that's another big one too. With some of our market research we've done, we've seen that 60% of people would rent more if delivery was offered and more simple. And what we really looked at is maybe doing something like a DoorDash type thing for rental equipment, but again, that's the beginning stages and kind of more down the line. Reviews for equipment and for customers. One thing that rental businesses would really like is reviews for customers. That way they can warn other businesses if some guy returns something damaged, or there's all kinds of horror stories of small-time construction workers like Paul that rent a trailer from the story I heard was renting a trailer for a roofing project. Didn't return it within the allotted time. They actually hunt the guy down. It's full of shingles. They say, okay, yeah, it's sitting here. They have to go dump it, and then the guy goes and rents it from the next guy down the road, right? So different issues like that. So reviewing customers, being able to warn them is kind of a thing that they're interested in doing. And again, the analytics piece I talked about before, providing some of those analytics for rental businesses, thinks can be a big thing and something they're very interested in. So we did have a list of questions for you, some feedback we're looking for from you guys, and then obviously any other questions you guys may have. What suggestions would you guys have for working with businesses that are very unfamiliar with technology? Again, like I described, some of our rental businesses we work with, we get a lot of pushback. They're making decisions based on part-time help that wouldn't be able to quite understand this, and again, maybe the business is doing just fine, but we feel like there's a certain risk by not adopting some sort of technology that we're offering. So I don't know if any of you guys have worked with that. I guess that would be one question we have for you guys. Number two, what suggestions do you have for future plans of a peer-to-peer rental marketplace? Do you think that would work? And then the other thing would be thoughts on how that works with existing rental businesses. Again, I think there's a little bit of friction there if we did that and open that up. So if we maybe have to have two websites, if you guys have any suggestions for that or any thoughts. And then the other thing would be any suggestions for approaching customizable insurance plans. Like I mentioned, for that peer-to-peer to take place, I feel like we really have to, at the very least, offer general liability insurance, if not more of a damage insurance, and something maybe similar to an Airbnb, but Airbnb is worth $20 billion, so they're a lot easier to get insurance for, right? So if you have any suggestions on customizable insurance plans, that's been a bit of a struggle for that peer-to-peer. So.
We don't usually get to do a case study live in the front of the room, but I was in the back. I'm trying to rent a high output projector for this weekend, and I called 3 or 4 different rental places yesterday, and I couldn't find one. And so I'm talking to Paul in the back room. He goes, "Well, here, look." And he goes through a site. He pulls one up. He says, "There's one right here." So he solved a problem for me just half hour ago that I was having from yesterday. So, all right, questions from the group. Kevin, let's start again.
One question. So if you have rental companies that sounds like they couldn't manage their inventory to begin with, how is it different here?
I guess the big difference is we're providing, they're posting their inventory online. A lot of the places do have systems in place, and there's a ton of providers for inventory management software pieces that they can have in their store.
But are they going in to update the site every day with what's available or every hour?
Oh, as far as that goes,
Yeah.
no. And that's why we have the reservation request. We are not tied into their inventory management system.
Okay.
And really, again, what we're trying to be is that one-stop shop. So rather than having to go to these different websites, and they vary in how good they are. There's some really bad ones, and there's some that aren't so bad, I guess. Right? So,
A lot more bad than there are.
Yeah.
So they get a reservation request, it's approved, but in the meantime of them coming to pick it up.
So in order for it to be confirmed to the consumer, it has to be approved. So it's kind of in limbo until it's approved by the rental business. So that's where then they can manage it in a rental system. So assuming they're at the computer when they approve it, or we call them, then they can reserve it in their own inventory management system. They confirm it, and then it's just like they normally would be in their system. And that's something we look to do in the future, is tie an API into their inventory management, or we were talking earlier about maybe build their own inventory management. But that's a bit down the road too.
I guess I would just also add that the rental businesses that we talk to, most of them say that they don't update their prices more than once every year and a half, 2 years. So it's not like they're updating it every single day or every week. So yeah, and we are building. Exactly. Yeah, just leave it at that. Basically.
Next question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so marketplaces have a proverbial chicken and egg problem. How are you addressing that?
Yeah, so we're actually building, so one of our go-to-market strategies is building web scraping systems so that we can, the companies that do have their inventory available online will be able to pull their data in and update it and refresh it once a month, something like that, if they have their inventory and pricing available online. So we'll pull that data from their website, collate it onto aggregate it onto our website, and then provide value to the consumers that are looking, and have basically a click-to-call button and tracking those clicks, so people are calling those lenders instead of making a confirmed reservation on our platform. So by doing that, we're addressing the one side of the market, bringing on the providers, and then that provides a lot of value to the consumers.
And that's why I started with rental businesses, right? I mean, like you say, the problem with peer-to-peer is getting stuff on there. People encourage people to do that, right? Getting rental businesses on there right away, they have a bunch of stuff. It gets that stuff problem solved, and then we kind of build the other parts as we go.
That's a stuff problem.
Well, yeah.
I like that.
But
I like it.
Another question back here. Go ahead.
I think I understand what you mean, but can you just describe what you mean by peer-to-peer rental marketplace?
Yeah, so like if I have a motorcycle trailer, if you're looking to rent a motorcycle trailer, I can post it on the site, and then you can rent it out from me.
Okay, so you'll put on what you have, and rental, you'll make your own prices, and
Yeah.
you're still taking a commission?
Yeah. It's kind of cliche to say, but Airbnb for your stuff, right? I mean, Airbnb for whatever is kind of an entrepreneurial thing to say, but yeah.
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 Thoughts on pricing dynamics for the rental companies? Graduation time, price of chairs goes up.
Exactly.
How they can leverage that.
And a huge example of that is just this past week when there was a big snowstorm. We had a ton of searches for snow blowers, and to be able to provide that, to be able to manage the prices for the rental stores, just like Uber or Lyft does for search pricing. Big snowstorm comes through, price of snow blowers should be going up for rentals.
Right.
Yeah.
So is that you kind of thinking about how you build that?
Future business plans.
Future business model as well, yeah.
Yeah, definitely in the works, yeah.
And then this year, you're pointing down there suggestions for a portion customizable insurance plan.
Yeah.
You want to have a bolt on, hey, if I'm a renter, and I could get through your site for a nominal fee insurance plan in case I bust the snow blower, for example, right?
Yep.
So my thought process for that is, you want to be a broker of that, right? You don't want to be a,
Right.
So kind of like American Express, you travel, you know, you can add on a health insurance policy or something like that. So my thought process is to, or suggestion is to, you know, there's opportunities out there with different insurance companies. Start doing some investigation there around what kind of relationship, and then you get a fee from them.
Sure.
Broker.
Yeah, with the commission, okay. Perfect.
Pat made an appearance this morning. Go ahead.
So a couple of things for you guys. I had a group of investors look at buying a software company that just did software for rental businesses. And I need to think of this guy's name, but you guys need to talk to him because he sold software to all of them. The one thing that was eye-opening, the reason why we didn't end up buying the business is the software was extremely arcane, and it was a one-time purchase years ago, and they don't maintain it. And all of their, 50-year-old employees know how to tab to the next DOS thing, and they are never going to probably upgrade.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And it was really eye-opening because we as investors looked at it and said, well, how are we going to ever have like ongoing or upgrade? So from the little I know, what I would recommend, and by the way, Chong looked at that business with me, not to point him out, but Chong knows tech, I don't know tech, so he'd be able to help you with that. I think you got to go two directions. You got to pick a direction, and you got to make the choice relatively quick. Either you build a business focused on essentially B2B, working with these rental businesses, and then come in with a full suite and convince them to get off that old software and get them to be your software and the value there, or you pick the peer-to-peer market. And if you pick the peer-to-peer market, I think it's much more scalable, it's much more valuable, it's much more interesting if you can crack the code on insurance. And I don't think you want to be a broker of insurance. I think what's really interesting is you strike a deal with one of the big insurance companies, and you basically have an umbrella as a corporation that covers any transaction. So if I rent a snowmobile from Matt for $10 and I break the thing, it's just covered. It's not some individual or people having to broker their own insurance plans. It's just part of your guarantee that you assure Matt and me that we can do business together, and if I break it or something happens, that'll be covered. I think that's where you could get a moat around the business and have some secret sauce and make this really big and interesting. So that's my feedback on your question.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Cool. Here you go, Joe.
Regarding your first question, I've looked at what gets people or organizations to embrace technology. Looked at that for a long time. And there's really 5 things you have to hit. It has to be viewed as safe, low risk for them, or at least acceptable risk. It has to be easy enough for them to get into using the technology. It has to be compelling, reason to use it. It has to be supported so they can get help when they need it, and affordable, or at least low cost or acceptable cost. So if you hit those 5 things, people embrace technology, organizations embrace technology. If you fall on any one of those 5, they won't.
Sure. That's a good point. So I'll tell you a quick story is that on the safe part, we get compared to a company called Big Rents out in San Francisco. And what Big Rents is more of a middleman. So what Big Rents does is they advertise, we're actually trying to more or less be an advertising spot for these individual stores, right? Have their inventory online, they can rent from it, but it is their own individual storefront on Rentable, right? We'll call it that way. And what Big Rents does, though, it just advertises like a scissor lift or something like that, and it'll be $250 an hour. Well, let's just say A to Z Rental in Eden Prairie has it advertised for $150 an hour. If a customer rents it from Big Rents for $250 an hour, they will go and call A to Z and say, we want to rent it from you for $130 an hour. And so Big Rents makes $120 an hour margin, or a day margin, whatever it is, right? And so they quickly grew wary of this whole deal, and so we get compared to that right away, right? So I think that's some of our struggle, at least locally here. Actually, I think we've had a little bit better success as you go outside the city where people aren't, it seems like these rental stores haven't been solicited as much. I've lived in Sioux Falls for the last 4 years, just moved back here recently, and Sioux Falls has had a lot more success because they haven't been called by Big Rents. So anyway, just a little tidbit for you guys on some of those things we deal with other companies. So.
Time for maybe 1 or 2 more. Anybody? KB.
Who is your target customer? I'm trying to understand it. Is it like construction contractor? Is it like a do-it-yourself like me? Or is it the rental place? It seems like you're trying to attack the market?
Yeah, well, it's a marketplace, so there's basically two different target markets, and there's basically three main categories for rental equipment. You know, you got do-it-yourself home improvement tools, you have heavy construction tools, and you have party and event rentals, as well as sporting goods. There's kind of four. And so we kind of have to segment the market that way for the consumers that are looking to rent, as well as the lenders, so it kind of goes both ways. Because most lenders, most businesses kind of target one vertical at a time. And so initially, right now, we're kind of targeting the tools and home improvement vertical, basically because that's the vertical that we know. But as we're discovering is that the party and event rentals are typically the ones that people book out in advance.